as intervention for the Bodija explosion victim, which the state government has come out to debunk it. Yes, moving on to our topic now, talking of the U.S. airstrikes and, of course, security matters. We have a public affairs analyst, Dr. Mr. Adesumbo Badejoko. Good morning, Mr. Badejoko.
Good morning, Fum.
This is a way. I mean, I think I'm giving you a nudge to probably take on that challenge.
In year 2026.
It's under
year 2026. All right. Talking of security matters, now we saw the airstrike that happened. We also saw our federal government respond saying it was a collaborative effort by the Nigerian government and U.S. government. But Sokoto, did you see that coming? And why do you think Sokoto was the first point?
One, I didn't see it coming. It came as a surprise. And especially Sokoto. And then when I evaluated the whole thing, what I concluded was, well, that wasn't really a strike targeted at anything, but just to serve as a warning to the terrorists. Come, we're not bluffing here. We actually can't hit you if you want to. So that's the way I saw the whole thing, and I still maintain that position.
So I'm glad at your position that it was a warning, signal to the terrorists. Now, when that thing happened, the first thing that went to my mind was, why not Sambisa Forest? Why not in Zamfara? Why not in the hideout of this terrorist? Why did we have to go to Sokoto? Can we analyze that part?
Yes. When the government issued their own statement, they say it was a collaborative. They even claimed they supplied the coordinates for the strike, meaning there are two possibilities. The first one I said, just to issue a warning, maybe to rein in these guys and have them cooperate. The second one could be that the governments needed more time to do it by themselves, and so they have to just give a coordinate that would not hit any known target. Because that one landed at an onion field, or onion farm, if you want to say. And there were no casualties, be it civilian or terrorist. Now, that means obviously that what? It wasn't really a strike meant to attack these people. It was actually meant to warn them that this can come suddenly, or meant to push them to now fall for their trap. Because once that strike, there will be mobilization at the hand of the terrorists towards certain places. And these guys have been placed on surveillance. And they will be more watching their movement, tracking whatever they do, and really want them to fall for the trap. Probably want them to converge somewhere to make a plan, and they now hit that place. I'm not in the mind of those who are in the security sector, and of course the two governments, that of the Nigerian government and that of the United States. But obviously there's a collaboration. That strike wouldn't occur on our soil without our government giving a nod to it. We are not fighting the United States. They want to come and help, and it will be on our terms. So those are the things that people do not really know, because the kind of welcoming that some people are giving to the President Trump's involvement, to me, it's not really something that we should be doing. Because in international relations, nothing goes for free. There will always be something to get at the end of anything that you are offering. It has to be a win-win situation. And for the United States coming, now they went to Venezuela for whatever reason. They seized their oil field, and they're exploring their oil for free. You understand? And along the line, Trump was saying that, well, they are keeping it for them. Do you keep such things? Will you pay them back? The one you took in Iraq, did you pay? The one in the resources you took in Afghanistan, did you pay? So these are things that are there, and this is what U.S. is known for. They don't go because they are going to spend money. Not thousands, not millions, but billions of dollars in every war effort that they prosecute. definitely they would take something back in return to pay for what they have spent. Now, back home here to Nigeria, what they are doing, the government is obviously aware of this kind of things, and they will also very be careful, because at the end of the day, it is the citizens of Nigeria that will either be the victim or the collateral damage. And when there's a constituted government is in place, and then a foreign government is the one doing the security work for them, it means they are a failure, and no government wants to be described as a failure. So those are what will be going on in the minds of President Tinubu and the rest of them that are involved in this affair. So they will be very cautious as to what are the level of involvement of the United States. And they will be looking at a way of, and don't forget, politics is in the air, and these whole things have been politicized. So that politics is also slowing things down on the part of the government. This is the north, where politically...
It's slowing things down on the part of the government, or government is slowing it down. I mean, politics, government. Who are those in politics? Who are those in government?
Politicians play politics. Half of them are in government. The other half are outside of the government, interested in being in government. They will play it like a chessboard and be pushing it to themselves. You understand? Nobody wants to have a lesser hand. The government will not want those outside the government to have a upper hand in the politics of the whole thing. And that is where people like me is concerned. Because we're talking about human lives. Why should politics take center stage? You should all collaborate as statesmen to see how this thing can be solved. Not that there will be underpinning factor, there will be some that have been linked to sponsoring this thing, both inside and outside of the government, and they're still talking rather than being in prison. So these are things that Nigerians are concerned about, and we expect a joint effort. Now, former President Babangida said, you cannot accept surrender from these people. If that surrender is coming from someone like him, it means that at the moment, there is a possibility of the terrorists wanting to surrender to the government, wanting to lay down their hands. But he is now saying, you should not fall for that. Kill them and then invite their sponsors that you have identified and their sympathizers. And he mentioned Gumi specifically in that tweet. Gumi cannot be said to be a sponsor. He is not that wealthy to sponsor such thing. But he's an obvious sympathizer and a self-acclaimed spokesperson for these terrorists. You understand? So people like that should be invited for questioning. That is coming from a retired general who also ruled this country for 8 good years. So you cannot say he's bluffing or he doesn't know what to do. So a right-thinking government will not take that and throw it away. They have to act upon it. And we've been waiting to see what the government will do. You understand? And we've been hearing all manner of, like just yesterday, it was all over the rumor news that there was an attack in Borno and several terrorists were killed. That has not been confirmed.
Now let's look at all of this. The U.S., you and I know, are usually very strategic. Nobody, including you said it this morning, nobody saw it coming. It came as a shock, surprise to all of us. Now, don't you think that the way our information has been going out before now seem now to be different? Because US was coming, nobody knew. If it was Nigerians, that soldiers that were to go on that rampage, trust me, the terrorists would have been aware. That's
part of the reason why the US government had given certain conditionalities for their involvement. You understand? The idea of Christian genocide, I see it as a wrong premise, but it was deliberate.
So come in.
It was deliberate by the US government. It was done deliberately for propaganda purpose, to really appeal to their local supporters who seems to be viewing it from that lens. If you follow the Congress hearing about the genocide thing, you will see that there are people who understand the issues right there in the US. And those are the people that even slowed the thing down and, of course, voted for a collaborative effort and not the US just coming solely into our soil. And that's the reason why the government of Nigeria had to come out with their involvement in that strike. You understand? So because the US cannot trust the Nigerian security anymore. They've trusted them in the past.
Even you and I.
You understand? And it's obvious that there are infiltration in the ranks. There are unpatriotic elements within the force who are leaking out intels to these people. And these are not ordinary people. These are powerful individuals. But the question we used to ask is, okay, what is now our own intelligence, the patriotic ones, now doing? You understand? Can they be countering this thing or figure out the moles in their ranks, expose them, bring them to book, prosecute, and sentence them to whatever they deserve? It's an obvious act of treason, and that is death. That's the punishment for that. So how many people have you sentenced to death on this ground? Even when you have identified them, why are you keeping quiet about them? Some people need to serve as deterrents. And some known terrorists, you keep telling us you know where they are. And of course, I believe Bello Toji, for instance, is trapped in that location now. He can't move away from there. But you have refused to go in and get him. Perhaps you want to make an Nnamdi Kanu out of him. He will be the one that you will hang the whole thing on. What is delaying that? You understand? Because bringing that person, he has a lot of intel to provide. Once you subject him to interrogation the proper way, professionals know how to handle such. They will get so many information that will lead to these same people that you are looking for. And so when Trump spoke the first time, my position was like, come, guy, you cannot claim ignorance of the fact that you do not know the source of financing this thing. America owns the largest military industry in the world. And that is the origin of most of this ammunition. Transaction would not take place without the knowledge of the US government. And of course, those paying, you can track their own resources. Why can't you freeze their assets? Somebody asked me where I first mentioned this. Is that possible? And I gave an example. I said when Russia attacked Ukraine, there was a group of people in Russia known as the oligarchs. And they are known people, businessmen, retired generals. Those are the ones that Putin answers to. What they did was to freeze the asset of all these oligarchs so that there would be a reduction in the resources that Putin will use to prosecute the war against Ukraine. And they seized it. They seized them. You understand? I said Chelsea Football Club was a victim because the then owner was among the oligarchs. And that was the reason why that club was taken away from him and sold. So the Nigerians that are like that are involved in these things, you can also deal with them. And one thing rich people fear the most is for anything to happen to their wealth. They cannot stand that. They can't even survive without it. So why don't you do that so that you would have locked up the supply and then the whole thing would dry up? But why come in by boasting that you want to come gone a blessing? All the places you have gone a blessing. What have you brought out? You were in Iraq, for instance, for 20 good years. Your premise was there's a weapon of mass destruction in that country. After 20 years of you ransacking everywhere in Iraq, you still did not find any weapon of mass destruction. American lives were lost. American resources were wasted. Iraqi lives were lost. Nothing. The only achievement you could point to was displacing Saddam Hussein, prosecuting him, and killing him. After that, no other achievement can be attributed to the involvement in Iraq. Aside Iraq, way back in Vietnam, they brought nothing back. In Africa here, they've been into Somalia. They did not bring anything out of Somalia.
So you're saying you don't have confidence in the U.S. Army?
I do not trust them. You must trust before you have confidence.
Trust?
I do not. And any person that has knowledge of international relations, security studies, would never trust the United States.
So you're saying that the Nigerian government should not trust the United States?
Of course, they do not trust them. That's why they are kind of cautious in the way they cooperate with them. but they are under pressure. You understand? And whatever pressure they are under is self-inflicted because they did not act when they ought to have acted. They were listening to some commentators who are sympathizers, who said these people are our own people. You can imagine somebody saying terrorists are their warriors. And you allow that person to be working free.
Okay, what do you think should be done immediately to Gumi? Because again, a lot of groups have come out to say, look, Gumi should not be seen walking on our street, and yet he's still on our street. What do you think should be done to Gumi?
Just yesterday on another platform, I did say that if I become the president of this country for just one day, the whole of that
one day is too much.
Just one day. The whole of that day, Gumi will not be free. Yes, I'm saying it now on live TV so that those who are close to him can come. If Saudi Arabia can shut their door against him, what is Nigerian government telling you? At least that used to be their safe haven up north. Now, if he was denied entry into that country, then what are we talking about? That means they have some intels upon him, which the Nigerian government will have. And what's off? Do you know he's a member of the National Peace Committee?
Gumi?
Yes.
But he will tell you that he's also trying to make peace. He will tell you that, the negotiation process is a peace process. Really? That's what he will tell you.
But lives are being lost. These same people that you have, ask the government of Katsina, ask that of Zamfara. The same reason why Batawale is being indicted by people now is an attempt by him as a governor to make peace. These are people who are acting under substance, who doesn't even understand what you are saying. Your angle of peace, they don't understand. It is what they believe in or what they have been indoctrinated to do. That is what they are doing under the substance.
Okay, Mr. Barijoko, unfortunately, we're looking at today. Today, lives are being lost, property destroyed. Tomorrow, Nigeria of tomorrow. What should we begin to do with the young ones? A lot of out-of-school children in Nigeria. Educational system is collapsing gradually. Tomorrow, what does it look like? What does the future holds for the Nigerian child with this kind of insecurity and terrorism?
Well, when you say Nigeria, you are looking at a situation where the situation is, the environment or the scenario is the same all over the place. You understand? Up north, they have this feudal arrangement that they have held on to over centuries. And it has refused to go away because the leadership, religious, political, in the north, wants it so that they can continue to subjugate and rule over the people there, use them as instruments for politics. That's why there are about 80% of out-of-school children in the north. Some of them, thinking rightly, have identified this problem and they know. Do you think it is going to be easy, even though we have our own miscreants here? Can you go to Bere? Apologies to those who are there, but those are the places we can mention. You understand? And rake in those boys, give them weapon, and ask them to be going to kill people. No, there's a culture here that naturally will not support that. There was an attempt, I think it's going to 2 years now, when some people woke up in the morning, took up arms, went to the secretariat, and said they are Yoruba nation, they wanted to seize the place. You understand?
Their life did not remain the same.
Did you see what happened? No sympathy from anybody. And the government of the day saw it as an affront, dealt with them, located the hideout, demolished the place. And those people are not free, not sympathy. But when they did that, and some people amongst us are now saying, no, you can't touch them, they are our sons and daughters. Do you understand what the implication will be? That's one thing about this environment. And so, going forward, the culture of that place needs to change. That culture of feudalism must go into extinction first. And no other person can do it but the northern leadership. They institutionalize it. They need to see that this is not working And it is part of that reason that you have open grazing being supported as against ranching, which is the modern way
But
of
this has
rearing
always been
livestock.
the usual call, the usual clamor we've had over the years. But and now that we are seeing, we saw the bombing that happened last week. Is this, should we say this is the beginning, the genesis of our victory against terrorism in Nigeria? I know you said you don't trust the U.S. government, but looking at the first attack, the first action we saw last week, should we begin to have
If you observe
an optimistic mindset?
The reportage of that incident, the word strike was used because it is strategic. You cannot use bombing, you cannot use attack. Precision weapon was used. When we say precision, mean it doesn't meet targets, except there is a sabotage somewhere. Once you insert the coordinates, that is where it will go, except there's an interception by an anti-missile device, or there's a sabotage and error in the coordinates. You understand? Or some other forces. So the fact that it was targeted at a no place at all shows that it wasn't an attack. That confirms that. You understand? So, and we cannot say it's bombing. When you say bombing, it's going to be continuous. Since that one incident, we've not had another one. So these are technical terms, and that's why the rapporteur just maintained the word strike for a purpose. So, because of what it is, and because of what the likes of Babangida has said, shows that what we already have an edge. Whatever we now do with that, I mean the government now, is what will determine whether we're on our way to victory.
What do you think the government should do with this particular airstrike that happened? How do you think they should begin to act going forward?
They should.
Especially when a warning, it feels like a warning strike has been sent to the terrorists.
Exactly. And I wouldn't know what is going on at the background. You know, security strategies are usually not made public. It is when they start enforcing the strategy that we begin to know or hear about it. So I wouldn't know what is going on as we speak. But what I believe we should do is to organize a coordinated effort. As the U.S. is supporting the airstrikes, our soldiers should be on the ground, coordinating and rounding up these guys. That is the way to win this thing. And you have to kill as many as possible. And as you are doing that physically, as kinetic measure, non-kinetic way, those sponsors, their assets need to be freezed. Once you freeze their assets, you already cripple them, because those of them that have maybe about 100 senior advocates on their payroll, hypothetically speaking, would not have anything to pay those guys. And so they are crippled. They will now be begging for mercy. But if you allow them still use money that they have gotten from the system to continue to sponsor evil against the system, then you are not serious. And that's the way it has appeared over the years, that the government of Nigeria has not been serious about fights against insecurity.
Okay, Mr. Badijoko, you've talked about some of the strategies that our government is supposed to adopt. Now, in the coming days, what should we expect from the United States and the federal government of Nigeria in collaboration to end insecurity in Nigeria?
What I said is exactly what we should expect. You understand? Limit the area support to the U.S. government. And also, they can help in the freezing of the assets. They will have the guts to do that. Nigerian, for political reason, may not be able to do it, even though CBN can also do it. But once they are able to do that for us, the third one is already being done: supply the gadgets that we need, the military equipment, attack helicopters, ammunitions, better weapon, and of course, logistics for the army. If you are going into the jungle where you need to move in with not less than 50 APC, armored personnel carriers. You understand? Because when I say APC, looking at the ruling party, the military has its own APC. Moving like 50. Now, these are bulletproof vehicles carrying personnel that are armed. The moment they see that coming, these guys are only armed with motorcycle and probably a gun truck, which will not be up to that. You understand? By the time you move in, they know that the end has come for them. You understand? And man the borders. We have over 700-kilometer border line with Niger Republic, now under military rule, meaning coordination, control is centralized, limited to Niamey, the capital, which is northwest of Niger. And this is a country with landmass like twice of Nigeria. So many ungoverned spaces are now in Niger available for terrorists to camp and do all manner of things. So you now need to secure those places. Secure a cooperative agreement with the government of Niger that we may strike some location in your country. You need to understand that we are not attacking the country or the government. We are just trying to protect ourselves. Once you have that understanding, then you are serious as a government.
So don't you also think that they should begin to pick and arrest some of the suspected terrorists?
We don't know if that is being done for now. But the best way to do that, I said that warning strike could be to make them to fall for their traps. I'm sure they are also being careful. And that's why they are using kidnapping to now fund and not directly. So ransom being paid is what is mostly funding this operation now. So anyhow, if they would ensure that area surveillance are provided for our highways, so that people traveling can be safe. You cannot say people should not travel. That is business being put on hold. Because a good number of people that are traveling are actually going for business, not leisure. You understand? So we cannot say we are closing down our highways. It hasn't gotten to that level. So we secure those environment, those parameters. And in the interim, all highways with bushy setbacks, those setbacks should be cleared off.
But unfortunately, that's the responsibility of local government, and they're not doing it in many places.
Well, for that of the highways, it's not local governments.
I'm saying in most cases.
In most cases, yes. You understand? When we say local government, you want us to now go back to the governors. Because whatever is happening to the local government, the governors are responsible.
But the local government should speak out.
They won't.
Why?
You don't you don't speak against your paymaster. How did they emerge as local government chairman? No contest. They were simply handpicked by the governors and put there.
Mr. Badejupo, let's leave that conversation,
for another day.
But with the airstrike that happened now, there are immediate steps we expect our government to begin to take. We know the federal government have said over time, we are making efforts, we are doing this, we are neutralizing their base. But now, this is Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians were happy on Christmas Day when the news was out, that the U.S. government sent an airstrike to a particular part in Sokoro state. But what are those steps we expect our own government to begin to take now? It feels like the U.S. government has set the path for us. How should Nigerian government take that path? What should they begin to do?
We can only say what we expect. What they will do, we cannot say it. Why? It is security matters.
No, I mean expectations, our own expectations.
Yes, and they are not different from what I have highlighted too. Do you understand? Now they should begin to work on the intel they already have. Put area surveillance on the highway. If you do not have equipment, it's a coordinating effort, and the police has a role to play. By now, I expect the way we do for staggered elections to be mobilizing police officers more into those states that have challenges. You understand? And leave Lagos and this environment alone. We already have like a parallel outfit that can work with, do the policing work. Just leave few personnel to support those ones. deploy the trained ones to those environments to collect intel within the cities or the towns or the villages. You understand? But by the time you do that, now let the military do what they know how to do best: attack hostilities and deal with it. But when you expect them to also be gathering intel and be the one to do policing work at the same time, that's where you hear that they are overstretched.
Okay, on this note, we want to appreciate you sincerely for airing your views, logical views with us on the program this morning. We want to appreciate you on behalf of our producers and crew member, Mr. Adesumbo Badejuko. I was almost going to say doctor, but I can give you professor if you don't mind. At least that's
I've been called a professor in this studio before.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adesumbo Badejuko, who is a public affairs analyst. Thank you for being on the program with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and we can only wish you Happy New Year in advance.
I wish
and
you
to
the
your
same
family. All right, we'll go on a break, and when we come back, it will be sport updates. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Thanks to Victor for that sport update. And that's much we have for you on this morning's edition of AM 120. Yes, it's the end of the year. Whatever it is you do, make sure you stay safe and be security conscious. I am Oluwafumbi Bello saying have a nice day.
All right, please look back and appreciate God for what he has done in year 2025. I look forward to 2026. Have great plans, and I believe God will help you achieve them. Happy New Year in advance. I am Jarisola Ajibola.